This meeting is now called to order. Roll call, please.
Vice President Payne,
Here.
Director Tripp, here. Director Wilburn,
Here.
Director Waldrop,
Here.
President Shandy.
Here. The Pledge of Allegiance will be led by myself, President Shandy. Please rise. All right, welcome to our board of education meeting this evening. We are so excited to start our gathering by celebrating the outstanding faculty, staff, and students of D20. Their hard work deserves our recognition, so we encourage applause during this celebration. Let's get started. First up, Ms. Hatfield, are there any updates to our agenda?
Yes, and the board has been made aware.
Members of the board, are there any items you wish to move from the consent agenda? Are there any discussion items to be added to the agenda? May we have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Vice President Payne,
Aye.
Director Tripp,
Aye.
Director Wilburn,
Aye.
Director Waldrop,
Aye.
President Shandy.
Aye. All right, board comments. Director, Vice President Payne.
First, I'd like to welcome United States Air Force Academy Colonel Weish. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your service. And I just want to add, for any of you that weren't there, we had the groundbreaking ceremony this week. We all had the wonderful opportunity to be there, and we had wonderful comments from Dr. Field, Becky Allen, and so many others. But I have to say that no one wanted to follow your speech. It was absolutely incredible. And we are so grateful that I believe Mark Belcher got that on recording. And hopefully we can use that to keep rerunning it on our website somewhere, because it really was so fabulous. It was great to hear about you personally, your family, your commitment to this country, and your leadership, but also just to children. Thank you so much for serving here with us. You will see we value your input so much and so greatly. So welcome to the team.
Thank you, ma'am.
Director Tripp.
Hello, everybody. Happy new school year. And yes, definitely welcome, Colonel. We're so glad you're here. So as the school year is beginning, I found myself reflecting on just areas of focus or district goals that I want to continue orienting my efforts around. And I know we had a great discussion about that earlier today, but these are some things that I thought about. I thought about continuing to strive for student readiness and achievement. I really want them to have the opportunity here to gain the knowledge and skills that lead to future opportunity elsewhere. I thought about ensuring a positive and safe environment for students and all levels of staff. I thought about providing for staff support and growth. And finally, ensuring that structural elements in our district are healthy, like transportation, security, facilities, finances, communication, and elements. So assessing these different goals can sometimes feel like our governance is pushing into operations, and that can create some tension, and it's hard to find the right balance. But for me, that is one of the job requirements, diving into the details while keeping our eyes on the big picture. For me, it also looks like asking other people, how is it going for you? What does it look like for you? What do you see from where you are? And asking those questions is important to me. And so tonight I wanted to share some answers kind of from those questions in two areas. And I'm sorry this is going to be a little hot second, but it's very important. I feel pretty passionate about it. So please bear with me. The first one is security. I was talking to our Director of Security, Rich Payne, and also Buckmeyer recently, and asking them how school preparations were going from a security standpoint. And this week, they have been meeting with all of the security team, including our new hires. They've been doing trainings, school walkthroughs, and so on. It's cool to note that we had 10 to 11 candidates for every open position for our security, which again just speaks to the desirability of our district and the strength of our team. And so they were able to choose good hires with really good background experience. These security folks are interested in supporting our kids in our schools. We all are, but they are also uniquely willing to physically step between imminent harm and our kids to protect them. I just want you to let that register for a second. So let's keep that in mind as we see and interact with our school safety officers and their whole team. And thank you from us for being willing to serve our district families in that truly all-encompassing way. Really appreciate it. The second thing I want to focus on, at the end of the last school year, I sat at a table full of bus drivers in the transportation department, which was wonderful. And I asked them to share their thoughts and experiences with me. You should know that many of them feel a sense of calling. They know, they're aware that they are the first face of the school in the morning, they're the last face in the afternoon, and they can often be an agent for setting the tone for the day for a kid. So as a former school bus rider, I really appreciate that because that was me sitting right behind the bus driver. But they also really, really are concerned with safety. They are very concerned about keeping kids both on and off of their buses safe. And they are actually quite fearful of accidents that may occur, and we have had occur. So some fun facts for you all. A bus weighs about 33,000 pounds, 16.5 tons. In ideal conditions, that bus going 25 miles an hour will need 140 feet to stop. More if it's wet, if it's downhill, if they're somehow distracted by a kid pinging off the ceiling in the back. The blind spot of a bus is at least 10 feet in each direction, more front to back. In other words, they cannot see you if you are trying to sneak by. Bus route facts: if our buses are delayed coming out of the first morning drop-off, they will be late picking up the next round of kids. And then they will be late for the next round of kids. So can you see in your mind those shivering kids waiting on a February morning for a late bus? And that's true for after school as well. It's a domino effect, and no, they can't make up the time. They're not actually allowed to do that. They have to drive the speed limit. They have to obey those rules. The last fact, and this is where I really get passionate and it's so important. Buses only need 1 to 2 minutes as a group to completely exit a school lot. 1 to 2 minutes. And the people I talked to were like, I mean, not even that. Like, it's so fast. So I am using this moment to plead with our entire school district and our whole communities. Parents and teenage drivers, please don't park in the bus lanes. Please don't pull out in front of or skirt around a moving bus. Please let the buses enter and exit the lots as a group without trying to sneak in between. And for heaven's sakes, don't yell at the staff who are facilitating that. It's not just about your kid. It's about your neighbor's kid, that family in the subdivision across the way. It's all of our kids. We can model civil and thoughtful behavior. Students, if anyone happens to watch this board meeting, please stop entirely and wait for all the buses to exit before crossing a street, the interior school roads, so forth. Even if you have an e-bike, don't be dashing in between them. I see you over there. I see you. No e-bikes sneaking around. And finally, to my most esteemed school and district leaders, please work with staff to create a system that's ready to go for our first day of school, that keeps our parents out of the bus lanes, and that allows buses to exit as a group. Let me repeat that. As a group, all at once, 1 to 2 minutes, with all foot, bike, and car traffic stopped. Rich Payne, Megan Sanders, they've got expertise, they've got experience with this. Please draw from them on what that might look like in your school. We can do this. We are talking about 2 minutes. We're talking about all our kids. Thank you for letting me take that time.
I'm up. My turn.
Director Wilburn.
Thank you for that, Director Tripp. And I can't relate to you having been a kid out there freezing at a bus stop, because I used to have to walk to school and back.
I did that too.
8 miles across a lake. Yeah, we couldn't afford shoes. Ditto everything Director Payne said, Colonel. Glad to have you on the team. Fantastic event we had at Douglas Valley, and God willing, we'll do the same thing again next year at Air Academy. So it's going to be a busy few years, and our relationship with USAFA and your leadership and liaison is going to be really important, and we're certainly glad to have you on the team. Welcome back to school, everybody, as well. Very well spoken, Director Tripp. The only thing I want to add, we're going to have, I think we're off to a good start, and it's only August. What people are going to hear from this board, more than you have in the past even, is that we want to focus on academic excellence. That this district has been accredited with distinction for as long as it has, and being the size that we are, is really amazing, and truly a testament to our staff and to the teachers and the people getting it done in the classrooms. And as much as we're focused on academic excellence now and producing young people who are prepared for the next step in life once they walk across the stage and get that diploma, we want to even sharpen that sword more and keep that accreditation going and keep those accolades coming, and making sure that we're preparing young people to begin their lives, whether it's the next step of education or entering the workforce or whatever it may be, more than ever. So you're going to hear a lot about academic excellence, and that's a good thing because we've already had it, and we're going to take it up another notch. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Wilburn. Director Waldrop.
Yeah, thank you. And echo what everyone said. Welcome, Colonel. I really look forward to it. Apparently, I really missed a great speech, so I might have to watch that. Really looking forward to this academic year coming up. I want to hopefully not steal some thunder from our great president, Shandy, but moving into this year, I'm hoping we have a ability to focus a lot on America's 250th and have a year kind of celebrating patriotism. I'd love to be able to see something like presentations about how the schools are celebrating some element of patriotism with our country, having different elements of the Constitution or things like that, different famous battles or whatever it might be. Of course, spent a lot of time in the military, so I think about even some of those old AFN commercials, kind of things like that. Something to see the kids put on a project would be fantastic. I think we will be hearing quite a bit this year about academic excellence. Of course, I think we're all on the same page there, and I think that's also what our constituents want and what's the best case for our students. Along those lines, I was thinking that there might be a book. I'm not sure exactly how we go about proposing a book for like a study. I know it's happened before, but I've got this book here, Just Tell Them, by Zach Groeschel. It's been a fantastic book. It really talks about things like explicit teaching and direct teaching methods that are shown to be much more effective for academic excellence. It also delves in quite a bit into neuroscience. What are the things we know about how learning occurs, how we focus on those things, and kind of move away from the other kind of more extraneous elements. So I would love to see a copy of this book in all of our teachers, kind of rooms, kind of thing. As we focus on those things too, I also want to highlight one of the books that I kind of come across this last year, Social Justice Fallacies. I'm not sure if people are familiar with this. From one of my more recent favorite authors, Thomas Sowell, as kind of a condensed version of a lot of his other concepts he's talked about. And these issues come up here and there that come across discussion. Like we're recently having a discussion on restorative justice, for example. There's a lot of different things, but these things kind of continue to creep up. But I think it's a great resource. And he's one of my favorite authors, like I just mentioned, but I hadn't gone through 4 years of undergrad, 7 years of graduate school, and 2 years of postdoctoral education and never heard his name. I just think it's really a really sore lacking spot in our kind of domain. So if you've read any of his kind of work, you'll know what I'm talking about. So hopefully I have some opportunity to have some of these books kind of brought in as well, but I'm really looking forward to seeing hopefully a lot of patriotism and focus on academic excellence this coming school year. And so it's also exciting to see all the work put in by our staff too. Moving into a year from the beginning, we came in December, so be able to see it from the beginning of the year, kind of going through. So I'm really looking forward to that. So thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Vice President Payne, do you have any board comments?
I welcomed Colonel Weiss, but I do want to thank everybody for their time today for the board retreat and the insightful opportunities to talk about priorities and our norms. So that's really it. Welcome to this new school year. We're just really excited for the future of District 20.
That was a special ask, Director Wilburn, that I had asked her of. So thank you. To your point, Director Waldrop, it is exciting to be in our 250th anniversary of this great nation, and it will be exciting to see the spotlights circled around that and highlighting how we're teaching that in schools and things of such. I want to touch really quickly on the topic of concurrent enrollment and the changes that we have had to make, and just get some clarification on that. And I know we got some emails and whatnot, and I want to just briefly address it real fast. So Dr. Phil, can you do that for me?
Yes, actually, I'm going to invite Shane Knight, who's one of our executive directors, to the podium to speak.
Thank you. It's on. All right. Yeah. Thank you so much for bringing the topic up. As a district, we support, our college and career services supports nearly 4,500 kids in college, in secondary schools, supporting their growth and development towards post-secondary options. Of that, about 2,000 kids a year, about 1,000 kids a semester take concurrent enrollment, nearly 10,000 credits a year of concurrent enrollment do we provide for students in partnership with Pikes Peak, with UCCS, with Metro State, and with Western University. This year, we had to adjust some of our district policies to make our policies and our practices more aligned with district or with the state legislation, the state laws. And in doing so, we did an audit of all the kids that registered for college courses for this fall. And of that, there was a number of kids who had requested to take classes that did not meet the requirements by the state, nor didn't qualify under the policy. So in that audit, we contacted every single family personally and did our best to bridge the gap and help them understand. Unfortunately, we caught that after the fact. And so kids left school for the summer expecting to take certain classes and concurrent enrollment, and then in the summer had to learn, after the fact. And so to make sure that last minute or after the fact surprise doesn't happen again, we've got a couple solutions to help improve the process. We'll be sending communication to everybody prior to the beginning of school year to make sure everyone's aware of the changes and the requirements for concurrent enrollment for the future. And then when College and Career Services opens up the window to request concurrent enrollment classes starting September 1st, there will be an additional communication spelling out exactly what the requirements are to make sure people know and understand. Our commitment is to make sure that kids have the opportunity to engage in high-level classes and develop the opportunity to experience college pathways in advance of graduation, and we want to continue that commitment.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. Vice President Payne, yeah, sure.
Well, I just have a question on that because I appreciate communication in the aftermath. Was there ever a discussion of maybe communicating it when we recognized there was a failure that occurred, which happens, right?
Sure.
But and I just was wondering if you could explain the part about it was on the calendar for training, but did that not occur?
There was training. I think
Okay.
we learned we need to do better job and providing more clarity at training for the people that are doing it. I don't fault the counselors that were doing it. I think that was just in reflection. We could have been more clear in our expectations and the procedures going forward. When we talk about the number of kids impacted, it was about 10%, maybe less of the number of kids impacted. And the number of courses was far less than 10% impacted. And so we didn't want to create hysteria by sending a mass communication to 8,000 high school students when it was only affecting a very small number of people. And that's why we didn't do a proactive communication once after the audit was done. We reached out and with a personal connection, either phone call from one of the counselors or someone from College and Career Services.
Okay, so you're saying on the communication side, because I mean, we've all been getting a lot of calls about this, and part of what I've heard, at least me, I don't know others, but was that there was they don't feel like they were communicated right away with.
We communicated as soon as we found out.
Okay, thank you.
Then, unfortunately, the social media kind of blew up around some things with some inaccuracies. So I had personal conversations with parents about concerns about their kid. And when I looked it up, your student wasn't involved in this. Actually, they're getting all the classes they expected. And having that conversation with them, they're like, oh, thank goodness. And so they were appreciative of that. So that was our hope with the interpersonal communication directly with the people impacted.
So in hindsight, just bear with me, but in hindsight, would we maybe rethink an upstream, more transparent communication about it?
And that's the plan to going forward. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Yeah, without question.
Thank you.
Yep.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And if you emailed us or me, there's your answer. So thank you. I need to announce our September board meeting will be September 3rd instead of September 10th. We have some conflicts we have to work around. So September 3rd. That will also be a big day because that will be my last board meeting. I am announcing my resignation from this board at the end of the September 3rd meeting. Sorry. It's an honor. So I'm moving out of state. My husband took a job. So anyway, I'm announcing my resignation from the board effective September 3rd board meeting. I am announcing my resignation as president effective immediately. I think it's just better for the board to make that change now. So, Vice President Payne, with my resignation, I understand that our governance policies direct that I transfer my powers and duties to you immediately as our Vice President. This is in accordance with Governance Process Policy 4.6, which states that in the absence or inability of the President, the Vice President shall have and perform all the powers and duties of the President. I have the utmost confidence in you. Here's the gavel.
I just want to say, sitting here as her wingman, part of it is you don't really, as a public-facing eye, see the enormous responsibility or roles of anybody that serves in an elected official capacity on a school board. And there's a lot of learning. But as president, you have been so inspirational. The immense amount of burden and time spent. I don't think anyone has any idea how much is put in as a volunteer board member, but especially as president. So your leadership and dedication and commitment to the children of District 20 will go on for years to come. And hopefully you can be my wingman tonight, because I have not done this before. So we'll see how we can manage the meeting. Please give me grace. Well, and moving on with that, 2026 school year, Dr. Phil, do you have any comments this evening?
Boy, do I ever. So welcome, Gil. Great to see you here. And thank you, Amy, for all your service to Academy District 20. I know all of us that work closely with the board know what a commitment of time it is. I mean, they're in a volunteer role, not getting paid, to do this incredibly important job. So thank you to all of you for serving on our board. But Amy, thank you. You will be missed. And we wish you the best of luck as you move out of state. Okay. All right. So welcome back, everybody. It's 26-27 school year. Woohoo! We have been super busy the last couple of weeks, and our teachers come in on Monday for a full week of fun. So they get to go to our rally on Tuesday and get donuts and coffee. They have a lot of in-services and professional learning. I live really close to Da Vinci, and I think for the last good 2 weeks, their parking lot is full. every day because the teachers are already there setting up their classrooms. So we know that teachers come to work far before their scheduled time, but it's going to be great to have a full staff back on Monday. So I do have just a few updates and things that have been going on this summer and just in this last couple weeks. Yay. Okay, so our district is providing 8,000 new Chromebooks to high school students this fall, offering faster performance, longer battery life, and improved security through district managed devices. The switch will save the district approximately $300 per device, allowing these savings to fund extended warranties, expanded IT support, and faster response times. The rollout reflects the district's commitment to providing reliable technology and enhances learning while supporting long-term sustainability and efficient use of resources. So that's coming to all high schools. Middle schools next year, right, Zach? Yes. Okay. Our next slide, this lovely young lady who is a Women Roberts student, her name is Dabby Chang, and she won the National Society Daughters of the American Revolution American History Essay Contest after imagining a lunch with Declaration of Independence signer Charles Carroll and researching his life. Her essay advanced from the local level to become the national winner, earning her prize of $2,500 and the opportunity to read part of her essay before 4,000 guests in Washington, D.C. We invited Dabby and her family to attend the board meeting tonight, but unfortunately they were unable to do so. But we extend our congratulations to her on a job well done, and maybe we'll try to get her here sometime this fall after we get going with school. Okay. So, congratulations to Aspen Valley High School junior Alex Kramis, I'm sorry if I mispronounce his name, for recently earning 1 gold and 2 silver medals at the 2026 Special Olympics Colorado State Summer Games. His incredible comeback comes after surviving a life-threatening diagnosis of diabetic ketoacidosis in late 2025. His journey is a testament to resilience, teamwork, and the power of perseverance in overcoming extraordinary challenges. Awesome. All right. So thank you to Ms. Becky Allen, Deputy Superintendent CFO, for attending the El Paso County PTA Fall Leadership Training. Ms. Allen, do you want to share about your experience at the training?
Yeah, so it was so much fun. It was at UCCS. It's the Fall PTA Leadership, and these fine parents, as always, giving of their time to the school district. This was on a Saturday, and they had different rotations, and I got to enjoy lunch with them, and they had questions, and I was able to give them some updates in some areas. So I will share with you what I told them. I said they make such a difference in our schools, and they make sure that our students, our staff, just have the best from meals to activities. They just go above and beyond, and just like our board members, they do it gratis, only to do from their heart and help others. So they're a great group, and I enjoyed my time with them, and it was an honor to get asked to go. So thank you.
No, thank you for going for us. Thank you. A couple of weeks ago, our lead team participated in our annual lead team retreat, an inspiring way to kick off the new school year. As in years past, participants took part in fun team building activities, earned awards, and even celebrated a hole-in-one by our very own Mr. Smart during mini golf. That's probably your only hole-in-one, right? Okay, sorry. The retreat also featured breakout sessions on topics including operations, security, transportation, learning services, human resources, information technology, and communication. Thank you to the professional learning team and learning services for their thoughtful planning and preparation in making this year's retreat another great success. Yes. Sure.
Did he have to time that putt up with the windmill?
I don't know. Did you?
Oh, there was a windmill. Yes. I don't think that was the one though.
So I was able to attend a portion of that retreat.
Oh, great.
And I just wanted to give a shout out to Ms. Allen, who delivered a rousing, inspirational speech, which I think really reflected the passion that nearly everyone I interact with in this district has for the work of helping our students do amazing things. So I wanted to send that out and also just say again, as I interact with more and more teachers and administrators and leaders, there are just so many really great, dedicated people involved in this work, and it's always a delight to rub shoulders with them.
Yep. So yesterday, our learning services team also hosted this year's new licensed staff orientation. You can see that top left picture is the gauntlet you got to run with like 50 cheerleaders screaming and yelling in your face. It's the best ever. We welcomed approximately 200 new educators to Academy District 20. Throughout the event, new staff members learned about the district, connected with new colleagues, and prepared for a successful start to the school year. Thank you to everyone who helped make this important onboarding experience a success. Okay, yesterday, this is just yesterday, at Rampart High School, they partnered with True Sport to host a free student athlete leadership event that brought together high school athletes from across Colorado Springs. Students heard from Olympic, Paralympic, national team, and collegiate athletes who shared how sports help shape their character by teaching resilience, leadership, perseverance, and lessons they carry with them far beyond the game. The event also gave students a chance to connect with athletes from other schools and districts while building community. And then finally, we were just talking about this. This is our groundbreaking on Monday, surrounded by students, educators, and members of the United States Air Force. The Board of Education and Community Partners, Academy District 20, officially broke ground Monday on the future Douglas Valley PK-8 campus. The new school will honor Douglas Valley's history while providing a modern learning space for future generations of military-connected students. Made possible through a federal grant, the new campus will serve students from preschool through 8th grade, giving military families the convenience of one school community for more of their child's educational journey. The $54.2 million project includes $42.7 million in federal grant funding. So we're super excited about this. And we'll have lots of reports throughout the year. And Miss Allen, do you know when we're actually going to start construction?
It should be any day now, our notice to proceed, because you cannot move a fleck of dirt. We had to be ready for our own fake dirt for the groundbreaking, just in case we didn't have the notice to proceed. So that we moved our own dirt instead of what was actually on the ground. But now we have that, and it should be any day.
Yes.
What exactly is fake dirt?
Well, it's not fake.
Fake dirt is like not the official Douglas Valley dirt. It's the Home Depot dirt. And you bring it in and you move it and just pretend.
I also like to give a shout out to the comms team who organized the event. You did a great job. Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you, Dr. Field. Tonight we have 4 new administrators to approve. Mr. Smart, would you please make the introductions?
All right. So first, I'm pleased to introduce Taylor May, who's being recommended as the interim assistant principal for Foothills Elementary School. Taylor is joined this evening by her husband, DJ, right over there somewhere. Taylor earned a Bachelor of Arts in Special Education from Clemson University, where, if you didn't know, the football stadium is referred to as Death Valley. Well, okay, I'm just going to say, sounds a little intimidating, not super welcoming, but hey, okay. All right, didn't know you went there too? Oh, okay, great. She also earned a Master's of Arts in Secondary School Leadership from Furman University. Taylor has served as a special education teacher, department chair, and as a special education administrator in D20. We're pleased to recommend Taylor tonight for the position of interim assistant principal at Foothills Elementary. Taylor, anything you'd like to say?
All right, Cameron, thank you so much for that introduction. And I have to echo, go Tigers. Thank you. I would also like to say thank you to Dr. Field and our Board of Education members for this opportunity to speak this evening. I also want to extend my sincere gratitude to Coy Schatzer. for entrusting me to serve as interim assistant principal at Foothills. I look forward to partnering with you as we continue building on the great work already happening in the school. To my Foothills community, thank you so much for welcoming me with open arms. I already have experienced the warmth and support that makes Foothills such a special place. And I am excited to begin the school year alongside of you and support students, staffs, and our amazing families. Finally, I want to thank my husband, DJ, and my family, who I believe is watching virtually right now. Hey, everyone. Your unwavering love and encouragement has meant the world to me, and I would not be able to be here today without it. I am very, very grateful, and I can't wait to get the school year started and this new role. Last but not least, go Falcons.
Right. All right, thank you. Speaking of Coy, I'm pleased to introduce Coy Schatzer, who's being recommended as the interim principal for Foothills Elementary School. Coy is joined this evening by his wife, Mary, and son, Cody. And Coy earned a Bachelor of Science in Business Administration from the University of Wyoming. Go Cowboys. Whoop. Okay. He also
I don't
earned a-
think the is official.
Well, I just made it official. He also earned a Master of Arts in Special Education from Regis University. And Coy has served as a special education para, instructional para, special education teacher, dean of students, assistant principal, and is currently assistant principal at Foothills Elementary. And see, he just couldn't decide what job he wanted to do. So he just kind of tried them all. I'll tell you, in Coy's previous life, he used to be an area manager for Blockbuster Video. And I don't know if you guys know, if you're familiar with Blockbuster, but it was the most anxiety-ridden Friday and Saturday night trying to go there and see if the new release was still on the shelf. And you get there and the disappointment when you realize that movie you wanted to rent is no longer available. I still have bad dreams about that. So we're pleased to recommend Coy tonight for the position of interim principal at Foothills Elementary School. Coy, is there anything you'd like to say, especially about the Wyoming Cowboys? All right. Whoop.
First, I'd like to thank the Board of Education, Dr. Field, Dr. Harris, Megan Sanders for the opportunity. I would also like to thank Julie for leaving such a great community, like leaving us with such a legacy. You have touched so many lives, and it's greatly appreciated. I'm losing a friend, a mentor, and a great leader. I would also thank my wife, Mary, and our children, Kaya and Cody, for always being there for me. Without them, I couldn't do this. I've been a longtime Foothills Falcon, and I'm truly honored to have the opportunity to lead such an amazing community. I still remember touring schools with my wife as we were searched for the right place for our children. When we finished our Foothills tour, she turned to me and said, "This is our choice because it just feels like a great place for our children." I knew it was wise to agree with my wife, as I always should, and she was absolutely right. Since then, I've had the privilege of serving the community as a parent, a paraprofessional, a teacher, an assistant principal, and now as the interim principal. I have some giant shoes to fill, Julie. Previous principals, Julie, Gina, and Brandon worked tirelessly to ensure that our school culture remained positive and welcoming for every member of our community, while also ensuring we are a high-achieving school academically. That success is a direct reflection of the incredible staff members who are here tonight and pour their hearts and souls into every student every single day. As I transition into this role, I will continue to remember my wife's words. We chose this school because it just feels like a great place for our children. My commitment and Taylor working together is to ensure that Foothills continues to be that place, a school where every child is known, valued, challenged, and supported, where every staff member feels respected and empowered, and where every family knows they belong. Together, we will continue to build on a strong foundation that has made Foothills such a special place, while always keeping students at the center of every decision we make. Thank you for your trust, your support, and the opportunity to serve this incredible community. I'm excited for what lies ahead, and we look forward to continuing our work together as Foothills Falcons. Go Falcons.
Go Falcons.
Thank you, Coy. All right, next I'd like to introduce Brian Herman, who's being recommended as the interim assistant principal for Rampart High School. Brian is joined this evening by his guest, Melissa Knight. Brian earned a Bachelor's of Arts in French from the University of Buffalo, a Master of Arts in Management and Human Resources Development from Western University, and an Educational Specialist degree in Educational Leadership and Policy Studies. That sounds real exciting, doesn't it? Well, I do policy. So for the University of Northern Colorado. Brian served as an assistant professor at the University of Wyoming. I'm sure that was probably awful.
Hawaii.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Hawaii.
Hawaii. And as a French teacher, IB coordinator, dean of students, interim assistant principal at DCC High School, and as the dean of students at Rampart High School. Pleased to recommend Brian tonight for the position of interim assistant principal at Rampart High School. And I think he has something to say. That's why he's up here. So go ahead.
Thank you, Mrs. Spartan. Appreciate that. And I just want to take a moment to thank the Board of Education for your service to the community, in particular, President Shandy. Thank you and best of luck in your next adventure. I'd like to thank Ms. Kylie Bailey, Rampart's new principal, for her confidence and trust in me and for giving me the opportunity to be a part of her already awesome administrative team. I'm excited for the work ahead and grateful for the opportunity to continue to serve in a school that I care so deeply about. I'd also like to thank Ms. Megan Sanders, our previous principal. Megan's leadership has positioned Rampart for continued success, and I'm incredibly grateful for her leadership over the last few years. She truly represents the kind of principal that every school in America deserves to have. I'd also like to thank Melissa for her love and support. I couldn't do this without you. So in closing, thank you very much. I'm sincerely honored to have this opportunity, and I'm really looking forward to the year ahead.
Thanks, Brian. All right. And last, I'd like to introduce Kylie Bailey. You see a theme we've got going on here tonight? Who's being recommended as the interim principal for Rampart High School. Kylie is joined this evening by her husband, Ryan, and 2 of their children who are going to get to have ice cream when this is over, right? Maybe. And she has a couple other kids, and they're up at camp, so they couldn't be here tonight. Kylie earned a Bachelor of Arts in English and a Master of Arts in Teaching from Austin College, which is not in Austin, Texas. It's actually in...
Kangaroos.
It's in Kangaroo, Texas?
No.
Oh.
Sherman, Texas.
Sherman, there you go. Kylie, I have a kid named Austin, and we named him after Austin, Texas. So Kylie has served as an assistant language teacher in Japan. That's pretty cool. And English and language arts teacher, AP teacher, journalism teacher, staff development TOSTA, a middle school assistant principal, and assistant principal at Rampart High School. Again, could not decide what she wanted to do yet. We are pleased to recommend Kylie tonight for the position of interim principal at Rampart High School. And Kylie, is there anything you'd like to say?
Sure. Thank you for that introduction. And I have never left school, so I've tried all the flavors. I'd like to thank the board tonight for this opportunity to step into a new role on a campus that I already love, and I cannot wait to continue to work with our incredible staff, our fabulous students, and the wonderful RAM community. I would be remiss if I didn't give a very echoey thank you to Mr. Herman, but to Miss Megan Sanders. She has been an excellent mentor and an incredible encouragement. And over the last few weeks, as people have found out that I've stepped into this role, their eyebrows tend to go really high up. But I would like to say that I have a lot of confidence, and most of that comes from having the opportunity to work with her and to be a part of this district for the last decade. Everywhere I go, I have had support. No question has been met with, why didn't you know that? I mean, there are so many people out there who are ready to help, and I am incredibly grateful for that. I did get lots of advice that a principal job would be very many things that you didn't know you were going to have to talk about when you went to college. And so I would say, yes, that became real today. When I had a parent ask if they could bring their miniature pony into the newly varnished gym for the varsity football pictures, and I had to say no, but I was like, oh my gosh, I never had to think about those kinds of things as I was going to college. But all jokes aside, I am blessed to have an incredible team that I know we are going to work well together. I know that the Rampart staff is going to work hard for our students to make sure that every day they come to school, it's a place of learning and a place of growing together. So I can't thank them enough. I would also like to thank my family. They're coming to school with me. The 2 big kids are, so they will not be able to avoid a lot of new adventures. We're going to go through those together. But my husband also, we are a family that crosses 3 school districts in 5 different schools. So we do a lot of school around our house, but it's very supportive and I love every second of it. And I cannot wait for this next adventure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lots of emotion in the audience. I just have to note, I think I should report out. If you could be here, you could see it. There's lots of happy tears going on. And I'm just so proud of all of the schools and the words spoken here tonight. With that, we need a motion to approve the consent agenda as posted.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Vice President Payne,
Aye.
Director Tripp,
Aye.
Director Wilburn,
Aye.
Director Waldrop,
Aye.
Director Shandy.
Aye.
There are 25 people watching the live stream tonight, and now we will take a 10-minute break. Okay, everyone, a 2-minute warning. Please find your seats. Oh, there we go. All right, everybody, if you could please find your seat, we're going to start. It's always incredibly inspiring to begin our meeting by celebrating the hard work and achievements of our District 20 students, faculty, and staff. Now we transition into the business portion of our meeting, a time for thoughtful discussion and decision-making. Out of respect for this focus, we ask that applause be held during this part of the session as we shift our attention to the important work ahead. Thank you, everybody. All right, there are no items pulled from the consent agenda. We are now on to our written reports. Annual monitoring report for governance policy for governance process policy 4.0 governance commitment. Does anyone have any questions or comments? Okay, and I don't. So. All right, is there sufficient evidence to determine compliance for each section? Are all sections in compliance? Okay. Recognition of exemplary performance or concerns regarding performance. Would you like to see additional different evidence, or should any part of this policy be changed on the next monitoring report cycle? Nope. Okay. Do you see evidence which is extraneous or no longer necessary? Okay. On to the next one. I'm going to try to do this quicker, folks. Annual monitoring report for governance process policy 4.1, composition of the board. Does anyone have any questions or comments? I don't. Anybody else? No. Is there sufficient evidence to determine compliance for each section? Are all sections in compliance? Okay. Recognition of exemplary performance or concerns regarding performance? None. Would you like to see additional different evidence, or should any part of this policy be changed in the next monitoring report cycle? Nope. Do you see any evidence which is extraneous or no longer necessary? No. Okay. Annual monitoring report for governance process policy 4.2, governing styles and values. Does anyone have any questions or comments? I don't. Oh, Holly?
So I just want to note that we just looked at this in June. So this is not an error, because this is reflecting a new reporting cycle that we've added in. And also regarding questions that are coming regarding this, we are going to be talking about some changes here in a hot second. So we'll just blow on through all those questions again, but we do have additional things to discuss that are coming.
Thank you, Director Tripp. All right, so now we're going to get here. Is there sufficient evidence to determine compliance for each section? Are all sections in compliance? Recognition of exemplary performance or concerns regarding performance? No. Would you like to see additional different evidence, or should any part of this policy be changed to the next monitoring report cycle? Director Tripp? Okay. As noted by Director Tripp. Do you see evidence which is extraneous or no longer necessary? No. Okie dokie. Annual monitoring report for governance process policy 4.3 board job description. Does anyone have any questions or comments? No. Is there sufficient evidence to determine compliance for each section? Yes. Are all sections in compliance? Yes. Recognition of exemplary performance or concerns regarding performance? None. Okay, Director Tripp.
I just want to note the excellent work that Director Payne has been doing with one of our biggest linkage groups, which is DAC, and just want to call out her tremendous work on that.
Thank you. That was not in isolation. That was with a big team effort from the leadership team here. So thank you, though. Would you like to see additional or different evidence, or should any part of this policy be changed in the next monitoring report cycle? You see evidence which is extraneous or no longer necessary. Okay, 4.4, annual monitoring report for governance process policy 4.4 board meetings. Does anyone have any questions or comments? I did not. Okay. Is there sufficient evidence to determine compliance for each section? Are all sections in compliance? Recognition of exemplary performance or concerns regarding performance? Would you like to see additional different evidence, or should any part of this policy be changed in the next monitoring report cycle? Do you see evidence which is extraneous or no longer necessary? No. Okay, next one, annual monitoring report for executive limitations policy EL 2.6, financial planning and budgeting. Does anyone have any questions or comments, Dr. Field? No? Anyone? Okay. Is the superintendent's interpretation of the policy reasonable? Is there sufficient evidence to determine compliance for each section? Are all sections in compliance? Recognition of exemplary performance or concerns regarding performance? Would you like to see additional evidence or different evidence, or should any part of this policy be changed in the next monitoring report cycle? Do you see evidence which is extraneous or no longer necessary? Okay, okay, proposed changes to GP 4.2 governing style and values. Does anyone have any questions or comments? I did not.
I do.
Director Tripp.
So I just wanted to note, this is about our governing style and our values. So I was reading that with that in mind, and there's a bunch of statements about what we believe and what we're committed to and things like that. And I felt like as I was going through this, there were a few pieces that maybe didn't reflect our focus anymore, or were a little bit outdated. For example, one of the items is we're committed to extending our district's ability to influence the larger education community. And I just feel like this board really cares about the kids in our district. And that's where we want our focus to be. And that's what we are committed to paying attention to. And so whatever impact that has on the larger education community will take care of itself. But I don't think that that should be our number 2 commitment listed in this governing style, for example. Another one that I wanted to call out was the change made in J. I totally believe in trying to create a system that provides a very rigorous and well-rounded education. but we do have students that have agency. They get to choose if they engage with what they're offered, if they engage with the amazing systems that our teachers and PSSGs and principals have there for them. And so I felt like this updated sort of that language that every student has access to a rigorous and well-rounded education that provides the foundation to pursue the post-graduation path of their choice, just reflecting, hey, it's not all about what we offer, it's about what they take. I felt like that was important. And the last one I wanted to mention is in O, it's 4O. And we really are trying to be a policy governance board. We talked about that this morning. We're trying to keep that skill set and learn more about that. So our focus is for long-term benefits for students and not necessarily on the administrative or programmatic means of attaining those benefits, except we do have a responsibility to verify that board policies are being followed, and we have a responsibility to ensure that the information we're getting is accurate and complete. And so I just added that language in because we've felt some sense of we have to be so hands-off that we're not allowed to do the work that we feel like we're supposed to be doing. So those are just some of the reasons behind these changes. And since it's talking about our governing style and values, I felt like it was important to look at that.
Director Tripp, that's well done. I do want to call out a few other things because I know we worked really hard on this. So the red line and green line is almost like if you get a chance to look at it, you really should. But it really does talk about the thoughtful process. And one of the things this board is very committed to, one, teachers can't teach, people can't work, and kids can't learn if they don't feel safe. And when we looked at number H specifically, we changed and modified that language because it talked about what environment children thrive in. And here's where the language ended up. Whether in the classroom or at home, students achieve best when their safety is assured and their physical, intellectual, social, mental, and emotional needs are met. So I would just encourage you in this discussion to really, we really do start to believe that this is a time in 2026 to update these things, to be reflective of what our priorities are as a district and be very intentional about that. And there's several more available. I didn't know if you wanted to go through every one or just highlight, but for me, that was a highlighted one. And it really is just because it's the right thing to do, but with the intention that District 20 focuses on safety. I just want to call out some of the accomplishments too under your leadership, the fact that we have our armed security department and an armed member of that security department in every school, every elementary, every middle school, and then at least three in every high school, along with the school resource officer. So I am very proud of that work, and just have to put a little bridge that it was many years ago under Dr. Hatchell that he made me chair of the safety committee, and we didn't have any of those things. And I and my husband, Chief of Safety and Security, Rich Payne, responded in the aftermath of Sandy Hook to work on a complete assessment on how they might restore a sense of safety and security at Sandy Hook and their entire district. So it is an honor, and I wanted to make a little statement here because I've been handed this gavel, and as an identified expert in the courtroom and at a level where I weigh in on safety things, often when it's a really bad day, usually people are really happy to see me when I come into their districts. But I just want to be very honorable and say, it's an honor to have Rich here working in the district, but me in this dais and having this mic before me and this gavel now, which is so scary. I feel like I'm in a courtroom. I can't help it. I do want to just say to my fellow board members, this is only an interim, but in this interim, I will always weigh in on expert decisions and provide my input if asked. But I will not be voting on anything so related to safety security. That will be your burden, because I do not want to have any conflict of interest there. I would say for me, it is a priority, and I'm always happy to weigh in, but I would not vote on those things. And it kind of makes me emotional because I think it's really important that people take that really seriously. But I just thought it was a good spot to put that in there. Now you're gonna have to tell me what I have to do next. So off on a tangent, but thank you for that. Let's go to H then. Are we wrapped up on that one? Ms. Hatfield? Yes. All right, H, proposed changes to GP 4.7 and board committee principles. Does anyone have any questions or comments?
Take that.
No. You want to? I mean, I have it up, but I have a lot going on up here, so I'm going to divert to Director Tripp.
Okay. This item and the following 4.8 are just kind of looking at our committees and what board committees look like and what kinds of behavioral norms and things are important to having a civil and well-working board and well-working committees. So we've added a little bit of language in 4.7 to talk about what they're doing, where it's supposed to be directed, and how they're supposed to be conducting themselves, I would say, and just in a commitment to effective partnership with all the groups in our district. We are so excited for the future with working together well and getting all kinds of input, and we really are very excited about that. So this just reflects some of those things.
Thank you. Appreciate you jumping in there. All right, let's go to the next one. The proposed changes to GP 4.8 on board committee structure. Does anyone have any comments? Questions? Director Tripp.
So I'll just say this one specifically talks about DAC and membership for DAC and providing for a DAC chair, taking away some of the things that seemed a little onerous, adding in some language about expectations for being specifically on that committee. We really feel like DAC is sort of like our back pocket superpower group that can give us such great independent information and really help us see great things or have a great view of things that are happening in our school district. And so the people that serve on that committee are really important, and how that functions is really, really important. And then just cleaning up a few things related to just the bond committee and like what that looks like, just cleaning up some things. So that's sort of the reason for that. Again, aligning behaviors and where those committees are focused.
No, and I just want to thank you, Director Tripp. I want to thank Dr. Field, Dr. Harris. Thank you for weighing in, and all of those that did. I think it's really important. And I wanted to say that that also is as a result of the facilitated discussion that happened. It was very intentional work. It happened last spring, and it's exciting to see next steps come to light with better practices and really in alignment with statute as well. So there's been great work done there, but hopefully we'll just continue that great work, and it's excited to use more, be able to have the opportunity to give our parent group more opportunity to provide feedback on special needs that we have as a board formally. So. All right, here we go. We're going to get through this meeting, you guys. Fourth quarter Board of Education discretionary budget update. Does anyone have any questions or comments? Director Tripp.
Sorry, this is my little function as a treasurer. So one fun thing is to look at a budget and see zeros. I like it when my fridge is empty because it means I've eaten everything in it. So this is kind of the same thing. So you'll see on this update, we've got some balances that are at zeros, which means we probably allocated well and spent well, which is a good thing to see. We do have some monies that we didn't spend, like election fees and some things like that. Even as far as like our travel and conference registration, things weren't as expensive. Our retirement banquet and things weren't as expensive. And I just do want to call out our admin partners who really help do some cost savings for us as we're looking at running things. I had a little piggy bank when I was a kid, and on the piggy bank it said, "He who saves pennies shall always have dollars." And so even though some of these cost savings are small, they add up over time. And I will say also, if you're wondering what happens to this excess that we see there, that goes back into the general fund. So it doesn't stay with us and we just kind of accumulate our own little pot. it goes back into the general fund and then gets thoughtfully dispersed as needs come to pass. So just wanted to give you a little thought about that. And also thank you to Ms. Allen and Kathy Watts. They are absolutely critical and key to keeping track of all of this. And when I ask questions, I get answers, and it's fantastic.
Thank you, Director Tripp, and thank you for serving as our treasurer. All right, monthly financial report through June 2026. Does anyone have any questions or comments? Bill? No. Building fund update. Does anyone have any questions or comments? Uh, 2025, 2026 Parent Academy sessions. Does anyone have any questions or comments?
Yes.
Dr. Waldrop?
Yeah, I noticed there's different things that are offered at different times. One of the ones I thought was really interesting, it was offered November of one year. It was financial planning, but I didn't see it offered the next year. I didn't know if that might be one that might be like fundamental. If we want to consider that if there are certain ones that are really important, you want to try to have on a standard cycle so that it's not being missed out on. I don't know what the sequence is, but some of those things that we're learning, especially these days, where we talk about across the country, so many people have concerns about their finances, and you have different words to use for it these days. But I think one of the things that's really missing is kind of having a good education about how resources, how you gain kind of resources, how you attract resources, and like Director Tripp was just saying, if you save pennies, you'll have dollars. So that might be one that we want to consider having on a regular basis.
The financial literacy one.
Yeah, exactly. Mhm.
I think, Dr. Harris, you responded back to that question. Do you recall why it's not on the schedule this year?
Yes, so when we collected feedback after each session, that was one that the feedback just didn't raise to the level of some of the others. So we are offering a Student Success Academy instead for this coming year, which is focused on helping parents prepare their students for college readiness. However, we did discuss, I talked with Director Andy Ruskin and Dr. Julie Hendrickson, and there is potential for having that in the future, the financial literacy, if we feel like maybe we could improve it in some way to get better feedback. We are certainly open to that because we do see the need.
And I think it's also coming into part of the graduation requirements, isn't it? Or somewhere it's in the.
It is.
Yeah, so it's also being built in as well. So I'm not sure that also
Yes.
alleviate a little bit of that.
Do you remember what year that starts? Is it this year? I think it is too. It's built in. There's standards that are built into several different courses.
Right. So therefore it might be kind of redundant anyways, but.
If I may, I have a follow-up on that, Director or Dr. Harris. And I have not asked you to prepare anything, but I was thinking when you said that, I do recall that for many years that's been a discussion at the legislature, but also some of the districts that have incorporated it into their life skills learning. Do we incorporate this into the classroom, or is that what's coming?
We will be incorporating it. Depending on what the content area is, it's going to be spread out over a couple content areas.
And as a follow-up to that, is that where those, are we still doing home economics? I just thought of that. Like I was thinking about in our retreat today, we had a lot of discussion about life skills and wooden bowls. And I think over my course of learning, I was wondering, are we still doing like teaching children to cook? Or I'm sorry, I'm just off the cuff doing this, but I guess since I'm sitting here, I get to ask.
Sure. And Carrie, our director for curriculum and instruction, is going to tell you about all our courses.
It's me again. And of course, I don't have them all off of the top of my head. I don't believe that we offer anything specifically called home economics, but the things that would be incorporated under there are in certain elective courses for our high schoolers. So we have an array of things for our students.
I just hate to think where I would be in life had I not had some of those things in school to just even manage my life or go off to college and know how to do some of those things. And obviously I had a great family that taught me those things, but I'm glad we had that conversation.
Yeah.
It's just something to be mindful of for even anyone listening or here. It really has changed our learning things surrounding those issues and trying to get all these other competencies in. But when we think about preparing students for the future, it's always something we should consider what is important. But thanks for that.
And then while I'm sitting here,
Yes,
just to
go ahead.
clarify, the personal financial literacy is in effect for this year's freshman class.
Oh, it is. Great. Thank you. Dr. Waldrop, did that help you?
Yeah, I did. And just as you're kind of talking about the home economics, I do wish we could bring something like that back. Or I know it's hard. We have so many competing priorities, but that's a current social media trend going on right now. There's some guy that does like financial, I guess, consulting for people, and he insults them a lot. I'm not sure if you've seen this, but I think that's why it's viral, because he insults them. But one of the things he insults them on is the fact that people say they can't get ahead when they're young. But he's like, but you're spending $150 a week on kind of eating out or doing Grubhub, things like that. So I do think if there's, if you learn how to pack sardines or make yourself a ham and cheese sandwich, like, we did when I was growing up, you might be able to have a little bit more money at the end of the week and those kind of things. So I know we have competing priorities, but that would be, I think, of service.
Director Tripp.
And I apologize if I didn't see answers because they may have come across after I stopped checking emails. But I did wonder about the schedule. I noticed it's really heavy in the fall and then very light after, January, February. So I wondered about that. And there's a lot of great stuff for our seniors and also for families kind of dealing with some distressing situations like dyslexia and anxiety and things. But is there something we can offer our elementary families that just don't have, like a big glaring issue, but they just want to know how to be better parents, how to help their kids learn better, things like that, that doesn't rise to the level of ADHD and dyslexia and some of those things?
For both of those questions, I'm going to ask Andy Ruskin, Director for Literacy, and Dr. Julie Hendrickson, Assistant Director for Counseling, to come up.
Just lean close to it. Yeah.
Okay. Yes, great comments. So there are 3 parent academies on this year's schedule that we hope attract all levels of students and families that aren't related necessarily to a challenge. One is our sports. I'm forgetting the name of it. True Speak. Actually, you saw a little bit in the spotlight about our True Speak partners. So a little bit about the benefits of sports in children. And then we have our AI literacy. So just again, kind of an overall wanting to inform parents about AI literacy. And then of course, our military family night is for all families. But I would encourage for anyone listening or in the audience, on our Parent Academy page on the D20 website, we have a link that we encourage all parents to request if there's something they're interested in or a need, that we check that, because we certainly want to serve our community and meet those needs.
Then can I jump in about the schedule, the reason why we stack the schedule this way? So historically, over the past few years, we've had one Parent Academy a month, and we start usually in September and we go until approximately March. And we've just seen our enrollment and parent participation really decline second semester. And our September and October Parent Academies run sometimes with 100 parents. So we decided this year, strategically, me and Ms. Ruskin, to really stack September, October, and November, and then have fewer Parent Academies in the winter. So we'll see how that works this year. We'll see if we historically keep higher numbers in the fall. And if not, we'll go back to looking at kind of spreading that out more evenly. But we did that, we felt like we would hopefully get better participation by stacking them in the fall.
People don't want to, seem to want to come out of their homes in the dark and cold. When it's dark by 4:30, 5 o'clock, we get a little fewer participation. But thank you. Any other questions that we can answer?
No, thank you so much.
Thanks.
2025, 2026 Student Experience Survey. Does anyone have any questions or comments? Director Tripp? How about we just switch for a moment? How about we go to... Yeah. Well, I did that. She told me I would do that. She goes, there's going to be times when you just forget who are you? What are you doing? Director Wilborn, would you please start?
Never been so disrespected.
I'm so sorry.
This was a really encouraging survey. So there was a 64% increase in participation from 2025 to 2026. So we jumped up from 4,100 to about 7,500. That's huge. And even with that larger sample size, all our positives were up significantly. How or where did we make such a huge increase in getting kids to participate in this?
Well, I'm going to let Dr. Harris tell you, but we hounded principals, right, Megan?
that what it came down to?
that we would get statistics every week from Hanover on how many students, parents, and teachers or staff had taken the survey in each school, and we would send weekly updates. So
That was going to be my first response. We also made it a little competitive. We also showed some people like, hey, we have this many at this school. You need to get up there too. But something else that we did was we had conversations with principals about the opportunities that they were providing their parents, their staff, and their students to actually take the survey at a time that was convenient for them. So we capitalized on different engagement activities where parents were coming to the school. We might open up some laptops and have them available for parents to take it right then. We set aside some time for students to take it during the school day. Staff, we would use maybe a staff meeting. So it was really showing them that here, we're making it convenient for you, and this is really meaningful feedback for us.
Well, it worked clearly. And you would think with the sample size getting that much bigger that fast, that the negatives would go up. And it's just the opposite. It was a job well done. And whatever you did to motivate the principals, threatening them or whatever, keep it up because it worked.
No, and Dr. Allen, I think tactically that sounds really great, but Mr. Smart, are we in any policy violations for the harassment of principals by? No, okay, just me. I wanted to verify. No one has any questions or comments pertaining to that. We're safe. All right, Director Tripp.
So I was noticing that we continue to see a difference in the student perspective, especially at the high school level, versus the parent and staff perspective. And I noticed that from the last time, I noticed that this time. Is this just the age brings that out and that's what we're seeing, or is there something else? And then I had another question also.
So I'm going to ask Dr. Michael Braum. He's our Director for Assessment to come up and answer your questions.
Thank you. And the nice thing that I have in my role is that I can come in with no assumptions. And so not having that historical perspective, the way that I would interpret it is exactly the way that you did. That would be a factor, would be difference. And I think sometimes anytime that we look at a survey, our own experiences as an adult might be different from those of our students. And some of the survey questions are experienced by students firsthand, maybe adults secondhand, and vice versa. So I wouldn't necessarily look at those differences as a negative per se, but what we could do with that data is, I know that one of the things that we want to do going forward this year is finding how can we help our students build those connections in school and improve the social environment for our students, because that's probably where we have an opportunity to grow. And so that's where we look at coming up with authentic opportunities for our students to get together. I know that differences was something that also was a result in the survey. And so finding ways to bring our students together and to give them opportunities, whether it's not just in clubs, academic, or athletics, but authentic opportunities. Sometimes it's just a matter of, for example, I was in a high school once where they had Lumberjack Friday, and the kids dressed up in plaid shirts, and they came and they made pancakes. And it was just an opportunity for kids to come together. And yes, they bring their differences, but it's just an opportunity for them to get together before school on a Friday morning.
So can I just follow up on that? Because I think you were starting to talk to it. There's a statement to increase student interactions with peers from different backgrounds outside of class. I'm just wondering what our expectations are. Are we trying to track this kid from this background and this kid from this background got together and had an interaction? Like, are we trying to track that? Like, I'm just wondering what the focus is and what the expectation is.
My own take, this is my own personal take, I wouldn't say that it's necessarily that, because when we start going out and trying to identify students that have differences and bringing them together, that's not authentic to students, and it's going to be less meaningful to them. It has to be authentic. It has to be organic.
Yeah.
Thank you, but I want to add in, because that also has a direct correlation to culture and climate and relationship building. And the more intentional we are about those things before school, I think we as a cabinet and a board need to have a lumberjack pancake making day. And it's an excellent idea. And those things can be measured. There's measurable
Mhm.
outcomes to those things that might even beyond just the student experience survey. It's really about culture and climate. So thank you for answering that and well done.
Right.
All right, end of
If
the,
I may.
oh,
Yeah.
Director, Dr. Waldrop.
Oh, sorry, Dr. Broad there.
Dr.
Yeah,
Dr.
I didn't know
Brown.
what these kinds of surveys, of course, one of the problems we have with self-report is taking a look at some of the different research aspects of it, right? Are there demand characteristics, right? Are they kind of, is there an
Right.
expected way they think they're supposed to answer, and does that influence how they actually, respond? Is there face validity? And then more importantly, I think in this kind of setting is, do we have like criterion validity? In terms of like, it's saying they're having a good experience, we actually have metrics of what that experience is, so we could tie that together between what's, the survey says and what an actual objective metric we might reflect upon with that. So not sure we have that now, but sometimes in my experience before these things, these surveys get set up because like, oh, it sounds good, it looks good. What does it actually mean?
Right. That's fair. Very fair.
I think you just saw two research nerds kind of think about this, and what that means is there a way for us to be able to see that and objectively kind of review that and discuss it. So I appreciate that.
Right.
Bring it on.
Yeah.
All right, the end of the year student behavior report for 2025, 2026. Does anyone have any questions or comments? Of course. I'm trying to see who gets it first. All right, Director Wilborn.
Go. You mentioned culture and climate a minute ago. This is really encouraging and a big set of kudos to our staff, admin and teacher level, for the culture and climate. So we got the expulsion report in May or in June or whatever it was, and it was extremely good. If I remember, we only had 2 expulsions and one of them was kind of a weird situation. So in a district this size, only one person. And now with this student behavior report, every single statistical category, and those of you watching and here in the room, you don't get to see what we get to see, but there's a bunch of metrics on there. All of them were down, every single one of them except one, which was high school detrimental behavior on or off school property. I'm guessing if it's off school property, there may be some fudge in the numbers dealing with law enforcement and other reporting agencies we're not in control of. Everything was down. So whatever we're doing from the EAC out to the schools to instill a culture of mutual respect, of de-escalating aggression, of doing the things that it takes to make sure we have well-behaved classrooms is working extremely well. All the data that we've seen in the last 2 years since Amy and I, Director What's-Her-Face and I have been looking at it, Shandy, it's constantly trending in the right direction. So job well done for those of you who are involved in that, because it's clear that one of the issues, I've been in and around schools where aggression and people coming in with black eyes and stuff was problematic on a daily basis. In our schools, it's problematic barely on an annual basis. And that's because our culture and climate has been so well pushed out into the schools that the students just know the expectations. That much is clear. And I just want to shout out and say thank you to those of you who are driving that bus, because whatever you're doing is really working.
Director Tripp.
Oh, I'm going to be like the downer. You should have gone after me. Sheesh. So I'm looking at, and I agree, so many things came down, which is super exciting. I did, this behavior, for context, came out of a push that we heard on the campaign trail that said teachers are experiencing too much aggression towards them. And this is where trying to drill down into these behaviors really came from. And so I love the decreases that we're seeing. I also see that disrespect to staff is slightly up. And I also see that we don't have stats for physical violence towards teachers. Now, I understand this is top 5 behavior types, but we asked before, and I still would want to see, what are we looking at as far as physical violence, not disrespectful behavior, but actual physical violence towards our staff. I don't really care if it's not in the top 5, right? Like, we want to be tracking that, because I feel so strongly that our teachers need to feel safe while they're at school and they're teaching. And if it's just like, well, hey, you're just a kindergartner, you're going to get beat on, that's the way it is. I find that unacceptable. I mean, yes, occasionally a kid's going to do something like that, but as a expectation for experience, I don't find that acceptable. And I want to make sure we're continuing to push the teaching and the training that, hey, disrespect looks like this, and we're not going to let you do it. Even though this is, the modern era and we got social media, whatever, like this is what disrespect means. And we're going to keep telling you it's not okay. So I'd love to hear just kind of some thoughts about that.
Can I speak to that briefly?
Please.
So we reported on the top 5 most common behaviors. There are, to your point, there are incidents where students are exhibiting behaviors that are harmful to adults at a far higher degree in current times than we've seen in the past. And that's alarming on for a number of reasons. And we haven't done, and when I say we, I'm not talking about ASD 20. When I'm talking as a nation, this is a common trend. And we haven't arrived at a root cause. There's a lot of hypotheses as to why this is occurring, but there's not a root cause. I can tell you that there were 75 incidents that resulted in harm to staff at the kindergarten level last year by 25 kids out of 2,000 kindergartners. So while it is extremely impactful for those who are involved, it's not a majority of the students, certainly not. And when we look at the data, 30% of the harm to staff as a result of violence from students comes from our kindergarten level. 19% come from first grade and 15% come from second grade. An additional 15% come from third grade. By the time we get to 5th grade, there's 7 students out of 2,000 kids that have harmed a staff member. By the time we're at 6th grade, it's 2. 7th grade is 2. So we have a very small number of kids that are exhibiting extremely difficult circumstances. And what I would attribute that year-over-year decline in results or of number of students impacted like this is the hard work of our staff in the school buildings, of teaching exactly what you said, Director Tripp. It's teaching this is appropriate school behavior, this is inappropriate school behavior. And we start to see that those, as the kids become more engaged in the school system, they learn the expectations and they respond to the teaching they've gotten. Additionally, we've provided significant resources to support students who are in extreme need. So we have the behavior team, and you can see that later in the report. The amount of time and intervention that our special ed department and our specialists related to the behavior team are going in to support individual students and teams of teachers and professionals in each building, helping support the students with the most intense needs. So while it is a concern, absolutely, for all of those kids that are in that level of distress that they feel like that's their only option, we're demonstrating through our data that we track, but also through the experience of kids in the classroom, through the teachers in the classroom, that our interventions are working over time.
And may I just ask a follow-up?
Sure.
I also want to just make sure, and I know we've had some conversation around this, but I will ask it again. Are we certain that we have a reporting culture and mechanism that allows teachers to say, this is what's happening, and I can say that to my principal or to the district staff, and I'm not going to get told that I'm a wuss, and I'm not going to get poo-pooed, and I'm going to be believed? Do we have those systems and that culture in place?
I believe so, and there's mechanisms in the district where if a teacher feels unsafe to report incidents appropriately to their school leaders, there's mechanisms within the district to amplify that and rise it up the chain. Cameron could speak more to that.
Yeah, I think part of it too is typically when somebody is injured by a student, there's a couple of things that they report. They report what happened with the student, but they also will fill out a workers' comp claim. And so we can kind of track the incidents related to what was seen in the classroom and what was reported. But there is policy in place and procedures in place for somebody if they felt like they weren't able to or did not get the support they needed at the site level when they reported an incident, to go to the next level in the chain. And we feel that that is being utilized when necessary.
Let's keep doing it.
Yeah.
Director Waldrop.
Yeah, I think along those same lines, we have like a climate culture kind of survey of teachers to see if they actually are they experience that they have confidence in that system, that if they were to speak up or something was happening, they could come forward. I'm not sure if there's like a formalized way forward. We have mechanisms like you were just mentioning there, but do we have a sense from the teachers how they are, is there a way for them or a way for us to get an impression from them that they feel supported if there was a problem, they could address it? And I know, Shane, I'm sure you probably have a delineation between kind of intentional harm and other kinds of harm where it might be, a student with needs who might be nonverbal or things like that.
I think
Might accidentally.
Yeah, that's an important distinction. Not all student caused harm to teachers is going to be reflected in a discipline measure, or in a discipline behavior report for that exact reason.
Right.
Some kids are in specialized plans that while the behavior is not acceptable,
Right.
we're not reporting it as a discipline because of
Right. Wasn't as intentional, volitional, that kind
correct.
of thing. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we used to have a climate survey, but I don't think that even asked those specific questions that you're asking. But we are looking to gather more feedback from staff in general. And so I think through that process, we can ascertain if they feel comfortable reaching out to somebody, talking to their supervisor, sharing things. So that's our goal, is to see where people are at. And then if that's an area that we need to improve in, then we can address that.
Well, if I could just land that plane, I think there are opportunities because there was a TLCC, the Teaching and Learning Conditions in Colorado survey that was completed this spring by both the Department of Education and the Colorado School Safety Resource Center. And it really did focus on student conduct, educator safety specifically, and the results. And I would say from the educator safety perspective, just we as a district want to prioritize that and also try to figure out if a student is acting aggressive toward a teacher or elopement or any of those things, that we want to kind of get in alignment with why that's happening. What are those protective factors? How do we work through it? But I would say that we can always crosswalk that with the fact that they engaged an educator safety task force roadmap for action. And some of those findings, we don't have to really reinvent the wheel. They have key takeaways that guide these beliefs, and there's 5 of them, and I'll read them just to put them on record. But action is needed on multiple levels, including the individual staff member, the building district. Well, now I can't see because my readers are on. I'm like, wow, what's happening? Let me say that again. Action is needed at multiple levels, including the individual staff member, building district, state, and educator preparation programs with communities and key partners having a role in each. And then it gets into school, culture, and climate are critical to reducing, managing, and post-incident response, making sure there's a culture of belonging for all students and a trauma-informed philosophy in the school. And then it gets into training, particularly de-escalation. And I know we do that, but I think if we could crosswalk or just look at this framework, it might be nice to see where we've been proactive in these same efforts and, even resource allocation. And then the last one is there additional funding to be prioritized for this effort? Because I do know that it takes away from learning and building objectives when principals and everyone is working on it. And the more we're on the same page, I love that the numbers are going down. So we're obviously doing great work and we're being very tactical in our objectives. But I just want to say it's a great conversation here because it's a really important work, and it's something we really need to monitor because it's important and we want everybody to feel safe and respected. But we also need to remind ourselves that all the dynamics, and thank you, Mr. McKnight and Julie Casasano. I knew I was going to, how do I say that?
Casano.
Casano.
And
it's just night. Well, I'm igniting you.
That happens about 2/3 of the time. And President Payne, I want to follow up on what you just said. I think the climate and the culture is so critically important, and it's really important as a district for us to be really proactive in not just responding to the crisis when it happens, but being proactive and doing the best to prevent it and to de-escalate. And to that end, our district recently, not just this year, but in previous years, started to pilot not just CPI, which is the nonviolent crisis prevention and intervention, but also started piloting MANT. And then we have some other schools piloting some other school-wide interventions that are helping to create a more solid culture of achievement and help proactively teach school appropriate behaviors that are going to lead to a better learning environment for all. And then to your question about, or not your question, but your commitment to reinvesting or to increasing our investment towards this, the district wisely hired or created a new position for the student support Director for Student Support Services.
Yeah.
All right. And Julie Casano. And Julie's going to do an amazing job of taking the good work that's already established and taking it even further, because one kid in crisis is one kid too many. And Julie and her team and our special ed team and all of the hundreds and thousands of teachers and school staff that are supporting kids every single day are investing deeply to make sure that even one kid in crisis is too much. And so I'm glad that Julie's here to do that work.
Director Casano, do you have any things you'd like to say? Because I do think it's important anytime we create a new position or we're piloting things that we're constantly assessing them and looking at their sustainable value and the resource allocation to say, is this effective? Is this a good use of what we put in place, or do we need to reevaluate? And welcome to the team. We all were so excited with you being promoted to that position, but I'd like to give you a few minutes if you want to weigh in.
Yeah, I think, as a building principal, my philosophy was that culture and climate eats everything else for breakfast. And I truly believe that, and I lead in that way. I kind of pride myself on being a visible leader. So I think really my first step is to get out into schools and see really what is out there. In talking with principals kind of in preparation for this report, I think a lot of them have really shifted to, while there will need to be consequences for behavior at some point. Also, the idea of really getting ahead of behavior and creating great tier 1 systems that support every single kid with explicit teaching around what does this behavior look, smell, taste, feel like in all of these different areas of the building. And so that would kind of be my first step to really see what's going really well across the district, what are some areas of gap and improvement, and then working with my team to build capacity across the district.
And I want to add one last thing on that, because I think when we go from tier 1, but when you get up to tier 3 and that cry for help and that intensity of support and needs, that's so important. That work is so important. And I just would say, I would appreciate that we don't wait too long for those kind of updates, that we're really active in monitoring. It really is a priority, I think, for this entire board. I don't think we have to thumbs up or anything. I know it is. And Dr. Field, I know it's important to you.
It is. And I would say also that our schools partner with one another, and our leadership team of principals and assistant principals visit each other's schools, learn from each other, and we do a lot of collaboration. So I think that's another strength for us.
Well, thank you all. I think we can move on. It was an important topic. I'm glad we had the time. Thanks for being here late tonight. We appreciate it. All right, administrative policy updates for the months of June and July 2026. Does anyone have any questions or comments? Director Tripp.
You guys know me by now. I just want to say thank you, first of all, for those who answered questions. You should know I am not asking as many questions here at the mic as I asked by email. So there is that. I did want to, though, ask specifically about our electronic devices. We have a policy surrounding that and device use and things. And that brought up for me just a question about what percentage of our classrooms are really operating device free. We've got some rumors that teachers are expecting their kids to bring their own phones to use because their district devices don't work. So when we talk about trying to create a phone-free policy, I'm hearing, well, we can't do that because our phones are the only thing that's working. And I know we've bought some new laptops and things, and we're trying, that will help address that. But also there's just this idea, like, we really don't want to send our kids to school and have them on a device the whole time. They can sit at home and do that. Right? We call that online learning. So I would love to hear just some I don't know, your thoughts and what the experiences are, how we're helping teachers continue to develop offline teaching techniques, resources, procedures, and habits in the classroom.
You want to address that, Zach?
Sure. So, to your point, right, we recognized last year that we had some issues with devices, which is hence why we started going with Chromebooks. I would say in general, one, we don't really have a metric to track how much time is spent on screens, but I can tell you in a lot of the other trainings, and especially in learning services, the digital innovation services team, there's a lot of talk around being intentional. There's a difference between, consuming tech and using it to create those kind of things. And I think depending on the grade, depending on the time of year, depending on the project, you'll see ebbs and flows in use. Sometimes it'll be a little bit more, and a lot of times it'll be a lot less.
I think that would be a question we want to follow up with you on because our expert is Diana Fricky. I don't know if you want to add anything, Dr. Harris.
I just didn't hear what your last question was, what you just asked, Dr. Field.
Oh, just following up from a learning services standpoint. So we've got a tech standpoint, but then there's just the whole learning services standpoint.
Yes, I will get with Diana to respond. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to the next one. Oh, nope, we have Director Wilburn.
In EJR, this is, I'm more just curious than anything. EJR, which is service animals, the language consistently says service animal in training means a dog and does not mean a miniature horse. It doesn't say a butterfly. It doesn't say a duck-billed platypus. It's always a miniature horse. And I'm guessing there's a reason for that. I'm just curious. I mean, do we have a history of people bringing miniature horses on campus?
Derek, I actually think that there.
Was it there? Is this an authorized? I'm not assuming. Is that what you're asking? What is the?
I'm guessing people have miniature horses as authorized service animals. Maybe that's number 2 behind dogs. And so that's why it needs to be in the language to specify that.
Yes.
Is that what it is? Okay. I wasn't aware of that. And the only other one, there's some curious wording, which is FFR1. This is the naming of buildings and facilities procedure. And I thought I had this blue line pulled up, but I don't, but I quoted it. It says, quote, the naming of buildings and facilities shall be started before the building or facility is opened for use, which is fine. The next sentence is this procedure applies to renaming a building or facility. Well, obviously, if it's being renamed, it probably already is open for use. So that might just be a technicality to clean up at some point in time.
All right, moving on out. That might have been a TV show, but we're going to go enrollment manage. Oh, Dr. Field, did you have? Oh, enrollment management strategies for the East Side Elementary Schools. Dr. Field.
Yes. Good evening. Do you want to? Yes, Becky, I'm going to let you introduce.
Thank you. This is a follow-up to the work session that we had in June. If you recall, we talked about enrollment strategies for the east side of the district. Just as a reminder, this is Shannon Bingham. He is our contracted demographer, and it's been a pleasure to work with him on this. Zach, is this, I shouldn't pull it off. Is it attached? Okay. I just wanted to be sure. All right, thank you. So we have some slides here that go over the main strategies, and we'll do a little bit of tag teaming on topics. I'll kind of do more of the conceptual pieces, and Shannon will do more of the technical pieces. Here's the agenda. First of all, again, why we are here. If you take a look at this map and you look on that right lower, there's a white box. This is the area we're talking about when we refer to the east side of Powers. And it really involves the 4 elementary schools of Encompass Heights, Chinook Trail Elementary School, Legacy Peak Elementary School, and also Ranch Creek Elementary. And there is still a good amount of construction, new residential construction in these areas, Sterling Ranch, Wolf Ranch. And that is what is prompting this need to look and say, how do we strategize this situation? When we think about addressing enrollment strategies, we put this continuum together because it really illustrates there are less impactful strategies and there are more impactful strategies in terms of impacting existing families. And if you look at this slide, you will see that we are focusing on the least impactful strategies to begin. And if we need to get more impactful in the future, years down the line, that certainly can be evaluated at that time. But right now, we are just focusing on limiting out-of-district choice, looking at overflow, and looking at boundary changes for unoccupied subdivisions, meaning the houses aren't built yet. Again, could we have to go deeper in years in the future, 4 years? It's possible, but we're not ready for that yet. And boundary changes and things of this nature can be very impactful to existing families, and we want these strategies to impact them the least that we possibly can. So the first strategy is around out-of-district choice. This is a concept we've already implemented in Pine Creek High School, and I always kind of refer to it as a spigot that we kind of shut down a little bit. When we're getting very full, we need to prioritize our neighborhood students, and so we are not going to accept as many out-of-district students. And it doesn't mean that we want to turn those families away, but we let them know we cannot accommodate you at this school, but here are other options. And we have many families that say, I want District 20. Can't get my first choice, that's okay, I move to the next one. And when we look at this, just to give you some context, there's room there, right? When you look at these percentages of total enrollment based on last year, you see that there's room. Chinook at 8.8%, and Compass Heights is over 8%, Legacy and Ranch Creek 11.8%. So there's room there. So what we are proposing and what we've actually started to implement some this year is each elementary school in a particular grade level, when they end up with only 6 seats left, they say, nope, no more out-of-district choice. We're going to hold these seats for neighborhood students. At these schools, we are upping that to 12. That way there's more room. Now, eventually, 2 years, we have to see how this plays out. It may be that some of these schools cannot accommodate out-of-district choice. And again, we go ahead and we encourage and give other opportunities. So that's strategy 1. The next strategy is around overflow. Overflow is only a phenomenon at elementary school. We do not overflow at middle or high. What it means is if an elementary school is at complete capacity at a particular grade level, even a neighborhood school, there's a student, there may not be room for them. So we have to overflow them to another school. And the promise has always been that that student will be able to return to that school the following year. Now, we amended the policy this summer when we started to realize for Legacy Peak, we may not be able to make good on that promise. And so we don't want to float that promise out there. We want to be transparent. So we already modified the policy to say that at Legacy Peak, it may not be able to happen that you return. With that, we think about what are the overflow assignments. First of all, we are planning at the 4 schools that we're targeting here, which is up on the screen. Chinook Trail and Legacy Peak already have 4 sections at each grade level. But if you'll notice, in Compass Heights and Ranch Creek do not. Eventually, we will be moving them to 4 round. That's the terminology, 4 sections at each grade level. We have room there to be able to kind of play a zone defense with these 4 schools to manage the enrollment pressures at elementary. The next slide shows you where these students would actually be overflowed. If you look at the bottom chart, you can see in the second column to the right, you see the current overflow, and you can see those schools. Some are Frontier, Pioneer, Prairie Hills, Edith Wolford. What we are trying to do, Encompass Heights will stay Edith Wolford because that's up by Pine Creek. It's close to Black Forest Road, makes sense. However, for the other sites, these schools on the east side, these neighborhoods flow right from one to the other. So we want to be able, if we have to overflow a student, to keep them on the east side. I can tell you when I did the boundary work back in based on the 2016 bond for Encompass Heights, for Legacy Peak, and for Chinook Trail Middle, some of these areas, the boundary goes on the grass between the back of two houses. They flow. So we want these families to feel like they're staying in familiar territory. They're staying on that east side. So we are making these changes. If this got so full years down the future, we could always look at like Prairie Hills as an example. It's right on the west side of Powers, but we're not ready for that yet. The next part of this is that we're going to make an amendment to our policy about overflow. And instead of just calling out Legacy Peak, we're going to change the language that says we are going to do our absolute best to return a student if they are overflowed to their neighborhood school. However, if it's not possible, which as this starts to bloom, it may not be, then they would stay at that overflow school, but it's in that east side zone defense. So it's a familiar location. Strategy 3 is about boundary changes for unoccupied areas. No one lives there at this time. So that's an important concept as we think about the least impact on our current families. And I'm going to give this one to Shannon.
So this is a pretty standard practice up and down the Front Range to identify subdivision filings where nothing's been sold. So to the extent possible, the lots in areas 1 through 4 are not under contract. No one has bought a home thinking they are assigned to a specific school attendance area. So for that area 1 and 2, that's the Wolf Ranch Highline area and part of Wolf Ranch Gardens. And for the most part, there's nothing in the area that we have designated that has been sold. And the overflow assignments are the ones that make the most sense to transportation as far as overflowing immediately next door. Now, these schools are going to have a little bit of room in them because the homes that are up against Powers Boulevard are already beginning to age, meaning the existing housing stock, that is, some of it is 6 or 8 years old. Some of it may be 10 years old. Some of those homes are already starting to produce fewer kids, and that's what's making room, especially in grades K1 and 2, for some of these children that are coming from the new housing units. So again, this is kind of become a standard procedure up and down the Front Range to identify these unbuilt areas. That area 3 would go into Ranch Creek. We're seeing already a little bit of space available in those early grades in Ranch Creek. And a lot of that area 3 will either be very high density, which will produce fewer children, or it will be high value homes that would produce fewer children as well. Area 4 is Sterling Ranch, the area that is in that southeastern corner of the district is going to be probably family targeted housing, meaning in a price range that families can afford. And then area 4 is referred to as Prairie Ridge, and Briargate Parkway will go right through the middle of that. And if you've been over there, they're grading it now. And so before anything gets sold or anything gets taken offline, we want to redesignate that to a school with room. So at the middle school level, we would be assigning those children to Timberview. Now they go to Liberty for high school. So this would be kind of a relatively small change where they would be going to Timberview on the west side of Powers in advance of going to Liberty, also on the west side of Powers. That entire area, Wolf Ranch, Sterling Ranch, Prairie Ridge, is assigned to 2 schools, Legacy Peak Elementary and Chinook Trail Middle. So we have to do something to decentralize that point load, and all of those middle school kids go to Chinook Trail, where we are just about out of seats. So that's the reason why we were looking at Timberview. The assignments are shown across the bottom of the slide before and after. There is a finger of Encompass Heights that extends across south of Old Ranch Road into the Wolf Ranch area. And we would be picking up that portion of Wolf Ranch Highline into that finger into Encompass Heights. And then those students would also feed to Challenger and Pine Creek in order to keep that feeder system intact so that those children would stay with their peers as they matriculate through the grades.
This slide just gives you an idea. You know, a natural question I think that comes up is, okay, what kind of impact would this look like? So these are some projections that Shannon has developed that shows a 4-section capacity at these 4 elementaries. And you see they're in pretty good shape. Now, Legacy Peak starts to get, you know, over that 656 in several years. It doesn't mean at that point that we have to scramble. That may be another spigot turn where we make it tighter on the out of district choice, maybe even a little tighter on in district choice. Again, you don't have to jump right to boundary changes. There's other intermediate strategies, and we would evaluate that at that time. So just a couple of notes. It's always important, I think, for you to gain context about how do some of the consumers of this feel. So Shannon and I, we met with all of the principals that you see listed there, anyone who was peripherally involved, and you see the themes down below. Principals felt like that this was the least impactful for families. They thought it made sense. They appreciated the step-by-step. And they said this will place, you know, as we do 656 capacity, we'll have to be more mindful about the spaces in our building and that nature. And Pat Shoemaker, he said, hey, everybody, you need ideas, call me. I've already done that type of creative work. So it was a positive meeting back at the end of July. The other thing Shannon did a great job was organizing meetings for us with the developers. So we met with Classic and Norwood, and they came here to the EAC. And again, we had a very pleasant meeting with them. They appreciated the proactive. To be honest, they were very kind. I think they were a little almost surprised that we invited them in a good way. They felt that it was proactive. They said, hey, I said, this is just a proposal. We'll know more in September. They said, if it goes through, send us the online map, send us flyers so we can get it to the families who come into the sales offices. And Shannon's been critical on that. As you look at the last slide, this would just show next steps. Again, we've talked about principals, we've talked about developers, but now how about our community? So you can see at the top, we will be using our stakeholder meetings in September. We just can't sit on this. The longer we wait, then all of a sudden a house pops up. So we're going to go ahead and we will be visiting each one of these stakeholder meetings, and then we will also have a community meeting on the evening of September 2nd. It's important to note that that's going to be right before the board meeting the next day. So I won't have the feedback in what I bring that day, but verbally can share it. On September 3rd, depending on what you instruct me now, we would be bringing back the update on the community engagement. We would go ahead and give a resolution for you to consider. And if you approved these changes, we would immediately implement them into our online map. Even though these areas don't have street names, a parent that clicks on that area will bring up the correct new assignments. And then, of course, we would continue to monitor this over time and close that spigot a little tighter or loosen it up and just, you know, be kind of proactive and thoughtful and do some pivoting when we need to. Do you have any questions for us? Thank you.
Dr. Waldrop?
And these the new areas there, is there any plans for potentially looking at new schools being built in those areas in the future? Because yeah, think about it, born and raised in Phoenix, so everything in Phoenix looks like a piece of graph paper. Have you ever seen it on a map? And in the middle of every one of the 1 mile squares, there's an elementary school, and then every two has like a, so I think about those parents driving quite a distance away to go to their assigned school. And hopefully it's something we can think about in the future to.
And here we do have some reserve parcels. And I think here's the leverage point. When we think about District 20 right now, we're really flat in enrollment. We went down 0.4%. And that is good compared to many very successful school districts in our state. We're holding our own. What we have to really consider at the time, and that's why we're starting in this benign fashion, when you think about our revenue coming in, it's flat. And so to bring on a new school, when we've got other areas in the district that have the capacity, the challenge that comes with that, it could be overcomable, but just something to consider is you would need to pass a bond to build the building. And then all of the operational expenses are now new expenses. And if the enrollment is remaining flat, that just becomes the challenge. So I think to your point, Dr. Waldrop, that certainly those conversations will happen probably several years from now, right? As these strategies are kind of done doing their job and they've gotten us so far. And then at that point, the board, evaluates proposals from staff and community input to kind of decide what to do next. But that's why that wasn't our first strategy out of the gate, but great question.
Anyone else? Dr. Field, we're good?
Thank you so much for the time. And thank you, Shannon. You've been a joy to work with.
It's welcome. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, now we have the report of the Citizens Bond Oversight Committee. Bill.
I'd like to please invite Chris Garnhart, Executive Director for Building Fund, and Jessica Taverdi, also a Falcon at Foothills, who is our co-chair of the CBOC.
Hello, how are we? Whew, we're always the last one. I don't know. Okay, so as she said, I'm Jessica Taverdi. I'm the co-facilitator of the Citizen Bond Oversight Committee. The big thing to know about me, yes, I'm a Falcon through and through, but I'm about to also have to span and like Eagle View because my son is going there. So, and I really want this project to stay on task because he's going to be coming to Air Force Academy when we get this all done. So just some updates. They've been busy this summer. So huge shout out to Chris for everything that he has managed and overseen, because I don't think there is a building that you can walk in that this bond is not touching and helping. So our group, we met in July 15th of 2026. Our meeting was led by Chris and discussed all of our financial activities. In the month of April, encumbrances increased by approximately $516,000. This included HVAC upgrades at Foothills, High Plains, an ADA ramp for the lower lot of the playground at Woodman Roberts Elementary School. In the month of May, encumbrances increased approximately by $6.8 million. This included lighting upgrades at 27 locations and a demolition survey and asbestos testing at the Air Academy High School. In the month of June 2026, encumbrances increased by approximately $138,000. This included HVAC repairs at Discovery Canyon Middle School and Explorer Elementary School. As of June 30th, 2026, 58% of the funds have been spent. CBOC was updated on all projects being worked on this summer. Several photos, I hope you took the time to look at them in his report, are showing just the positive impact. And as a little tidbit, my soon-to-be third grader got to use the bathrooms that have been updated, and it's in like our top 10 of the summer. It's a big deal. And she turned to me and she goes, "The custodians are going to be so happy, Mom." So like this work is impactful, and being on this oversight to get to see how the money that I pay as a D20 taxpayer is used, like I would trust their leadership for anything. And it's just amazing to see. Chris has invited me. I get to go walk some of the sites and see it. I would encourage all of you, like, it sounds silly, but when a first grader is going to see our bathrooms, I wish all of you as board members could see the impact that has, because they were rough. So I hope you get into the buildings and you take the time to see the work that this bond has given to our district. So it's a joy to be on the committee. Do you have questions?
Does anyone have questions? Director Tripp?
So I'm going to sound like a Becky Allen in this moment. But first, thank you so much. I don't have questions for you, but I looked at all the pictures. I was like, ooh, I got to go there and I got to go there and I got to see that. So it's really exciting and I appreciate it. And I did get a little snapshot of what's coming next summer and it's great work. So thank you so much. For my fellow board members who like to know where our money's going and what's happening with that, can we pull up that report and go to page 6? Would that be possible? Whoever is in charge of Scrolly. If you look at the bottom of page 6 and it says BOE contingency tracking. And I was like, what the heck is that? Okay. Turns out this bond premium allocation of 3.5 million has to do with our rating as a district. And basically, kind of like you get an insurance rating for how amazing you are, it's the same thing. Our district is seen as being so amazing that they gave us 3.5 million extra dollars and they gave us some refund of 5,000. So basically, we have extra money that was offered to us to utilize because we're such an amazing district. So, woo, woo, woo. The question is, where does that money go? And it goes into this contingency fund that we technically hold, and it doesn't get spent, not even like $5. It just stays here until a request is made to utilize it for something very specific related to this bond work. So if part of the project goes over a little bit, like LED lights cost a little bit more than they thought, or if something comes up that wasn't anticipated and it's not within what has already been allocated, they can come and request us to help cover that. So this isn't money that goes into our pockets to do whatever we want. This is money that's like kind of protected to help shore up this bond work. And I thought you would want to know about that it exists and the mechanisms for it getting spent. So anytime this is going to be spent on something, it's going to come to us before that happens.
Well, I just want to thank you for your work in our community and being on the oversight committee. And it's an honor to have you tonight. We really appreciate the update. And we've got you on speed dial. Did you want to add?
Yeah. So I heard a comment earlier about when construction activities were going to happen at Douglas Valley. That's not a bond project, so it doesn't show up in my reports. Right. But I will tell you, the contractor has delivered a construction trailer on site. They're setting up construction fencing. Next week, they'll start doing erosion control, which is they got to protect sediment from getting off the site, and USAFA will have to inspect that. Once that happens, I expect to see some dirt moving pretty quickly. So probably within the next 2 to 3 weeks.
Now, will that be real dirt or will that be?
I was going to ask the same question, but I was actually waiting for Vice President Payne to.
Now we can do the real dirt.
That'll be the real dirt.
That's Doug Valley dirt. I know, that was perfect. Thank you, Mr. Garnhart, for all your expertise. We're so lucky to have you in the district, and your service has been exemplary. Thank you. All right, so now we go into the public comment section. Mr. Belcher, how many people have signed up to speak during public comment section 1?
We have one speaker.
All right. The board welcomes public comments on issues related to the operation and conduct of district schools in accordance with Board Governance Policy GP 4.4. For members of the public who have registered to comment at tonight's meeting, the board has reserved 2 public comment sections. The first public comment section is for individuals who are speaking on specific agenda items and ASD 20 students. ASD 20 students will be called upon first, after which individuals will be called in the order that they appear on the sign-up sheet. The second public comment section is for the individuals who wish to speak on a general topic not on the agenda. Individuals will be called in the order that they appear on the sign-up sheet. Each individual speaker will be limited to 2 minutes of comment. Individual speakers may not exceed their time or cede their time to other speakers. Please keep in mind that students often attend board meetings. Speakers' remarks, therefore, should be suitable for an audience that includes kindergarten through 12th grade students. Out of respect for all speakers, please refrain from cheering, clapping, snapping, or speaking out during public comment. The board president will recognize each speaker and may interrupt, warn, or terminate a speaker's statement that is unrelated to the operations or conduct of the school district or disruptive to an orderly, civil, and productive meeting. Examples of comments that may be disruptive to an orderly, civil, and productive meeting include obscenities of profanity, comments that constitute harassment on the basis of one or more protected classes, and/or personal attacks against any individual that exceed permissible criticism of school operations or personnel in their professional capacity. Finally, as a reminder to all present, the board and staff generally do not respond to public comment. This is our opportunity to hear from students, parents, and patrons. The board may discuss public comments later in the agenda or on future agendas.
Our sole speaker for this section is William Sawdell.
This past week, this past week, I re-examined the list of concerning books of D20 libraries and finished with the following discoveries. As you review IJLR2, allow me to share with you the results. I am now tracking over 1,900 concerning books, 800 of which violate Miller versus California. Once again, I also uncovered yet another scheme by staff to make over 140 by my count, available electronically in violation of the Children's Internet Protection Act. Moreover, a lot of the titles are also being slipped in under other languages. Kudos again to those of you who had the courage to remove Almost Perfect. But let's be honest, this isn't a battle won one book at a time. Derek, since you recently ambushed me and Brett with derisive comments, only to run away before we could respond, let me answer you here. No, I don't agonize over why the board doesn't, in your own words, just rip the books out. Books that you yourself used once in your campaign for election onto this board. Amy and Eddie, I know you've seen for yourselves how staff manipulates the committee process, packing them with activists, locals, and teachers. Dismissing actual law, selectively manipulating policies, or rewriting them when their power is limited. My position on this topic remains consistent. Start by overhauling the Carver model. Strengthen, legally align, and enforce policy so this filth isn't permitted in the schools in the first place. Instead of taking years to react after realizing an administrator has crossed the line, accept that the ones you repeatedly treat as allies are not. They have clearly defined roles and responsibilities codified in law, and so do you. Amy, don't kid yourself. God does not release you from your duty. Thank you.
Next on the agenda, we have review of Administrative Policy IJL R2, reconsideration of library resources procedure. Discussion, please. Director Wilborn, you're going first.
In study session, I think we discovered something very, very valuable, thanks to Mr. Miller, about the lack of mandated headcount on a book review committees, right? So less is more, I think, in this case. And I think where we can really sharpen this pencil up quite a bit and sharpen the sword is to figure out how many we need to have. If there is no minimum, then how many do we want to have, and make that adjustment. So we discussed today in work session about eliminating the student requirement, which I think is wise, and that was well explained. Why are we inviting students to review a book that we're saying is inappropriate for students? So there's one, but we're still sitting at somewhere in the neighborhood of 6, 7, 8, 9. And if there's nothing necessarily saying that we have to have that many, then I think we should discuss how many we want and move in that direction. And who those individuals should be.
No, and I appreciate that. Those are all good points. Dr. Waldrop?
Yeah, I think we had a pretty good discussion. I think the more we continue to learn about these things, what are the parameters we have to work in? How can we do that as efficiently as possible? We know that we have a lot of setbacks or kind of hurdles we have to go through that are legislative, that are kind of beyond us. So, but how do we kind of recognize those things, not necessarily as a limitation, but as a challenge to be solved? And I think we're working towards that. I also want to kind of give kudos to the staff that really helped out. Evans and everyone else that kind of really helped out on there, Dr. Harris. So we have, I think we're working with people that have the goal, the shared goal in mind, and trying to work towards that as best we can. So I just want to say I appreciate the work we have so far. And I think there's some work to be done, but I also think little things we're doing too is trying to streamline these things. Less is more sometimes. So how do we kind of recognize what's effective, what's efficient? How do we get this process done in a way that's not going to take, the next 55 years to get rid of, 5 books if they're deemed to be inappropriate.
Oh, thank you for that. Director Tripp?
Also thought our work session was good. And I think we do have a desire to get upstream from this. The fewer yucky books that come in, the fewer we have to go through this ridiculous process. And so addressing that upstream and, books coming in, I think is very important, a very important piece. And we're going to be working on that over the course of the next little while, which I'm excited about. And I just want to remind us all, from a context perspective, we curate the food our kids eat in school. We curate the websites they can go to in school. We curate the curriculum that we allow to be used in this school. We don't allow them to access medicines, even Advil and Tylenol, without oversight. There is absolutely no reason why we cannot and should not be curating the content of our libraries.
I would just add that I really appreciate the multidisciplinary approach of everyone coming together to work through this, because some of this is a statutory issue, and the constraints placed on schools across Colorado is sort of remarkable to me, that we are all finding ourselves in this position to navigate what has been put in place. And I want to honor the thoughtful process, because this has involved a triage of things, of screeners, and what's appropriate and what is legislative and what is legal. I mean, we are under legal constraints. So I want to honor everybody that's worked on this. And I want to be very respectful and mindful that the way, even then when we have disagreements or when people come to the mic, that children learn what they live. And when they learn from adults of how we manage things like this, we have to be very mindful of the message we're sending to future generations, because I think we're all trying to be part of the solution. And it's a tough issue. So with that, I want to get to go ahead. Moving on to decision items. Oh, Director Waldrop.
Just as we kind of mentioned here, as Director Tripp mentioned, I'm not sure we have it in place yet, but it might be worthwhile to consider a moratorium and taking new books into the district while we solve this kind of problem. I think we have probably sufficient books, for academic merit and academic excellence currently as we have it. So we place a moratorium on taking new books in until we can figure out more about how we can implement an efficient, effective system for the reconsideration process. That might be worthwhile for us to consider.
So if I can just add.
I'm so sorry. I apologize. I'm so nervous up here. I'm just
you're
trying to make
good.
sure.
I just wanted to respond to Dr. Waldrop. Starting at the very end of last year for our secondary schools, we did put a hold on new books being added to the shelves pending the updated policy.
Apologize. I'm sitting here trying to remember your last name and not call you Carrie.
It's Evans, but it's
Carrie
fine.
Evans. I'm so
It's
sorry.
fine.
So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Any additions, anyone? Any other comments or questions? No, thank you. All right. Moving on to decision items. We need a motion to approve resolution 262-26 parameters resolution for series 2026 general obligation refunding bonds.
So moved.
Second.
All right, discussion, please.
Well, thank you this evening for giving us a few minutes. I just first want to introduce Dan O'Connell. He's a managing director with RBC Capital Markets. He's the gentleman that helps us plan our levies and all of those to try to strategize. So just a great collaborator. He does trainings through CDE for school districts. He's just a friend of school districts across the state. So, you know, when you have a mortgage, and I'm making this up, you get 7%. Okay. And then 8 years later, all of a sudden it fell to 3%, 4%, and you decide you want to refinance that mortgage. Well, the length of the mortgage doesn't necessarily change, but now you're going to pay less interest. That is what a refunding means. It's basically like a mortgage type of refinancing. So we have a set of bonds that came from the 2016 voter approved bond. That one was for $230 million. And we didn't sell all those bonds at once. In 2017, we sold $160 million of bonds. And so we've been paying those payments just like you do with a mortgage. But now conditions are right to say, you know what? We would save interest costs by refunding, reselling these bonds, paying off the old ones, and having new debt at a lower rate. And that's good stewardship for our community. And so that is really what this is all about. It's about $124 million worth of bonds that we would sell. And there's there's something called net present value, which tries to estimate what your savings would be. And 3% is a typical threshold. If 3% is the savings, that makes sense for a school district to move forward. If it's less than that, you know, there's costs associated with selling these bonds, just like when you have mortgage closing costs and all that. Well, if the savings is so little, it's not worth it. So we are exceeding that. Dan is really looking at that number being at least 4.5%, maybe even in the sixes. What would you say today, Dan? This does not move, I learned, so you could use that.
Okay, so tall. Who's here before?
Shaquille,
Okay, thank you. Yeah, currently we're at about 6% present value savings, so double the GFOA standards of 3% savings. And obviously that's subject to market change. So we've been in the process, which I'm sure Becky's going to talk about a little bit, but I don't want to steal your thunder. But we've been in the process of putting together the financing documents, approaching the rating agencies. We just had a rating call, what was that, yesterday, 2 days ago?
Yep.
And they're likely to assign the rating next week. And so as the process goes along, we're now getting prepped to post the offering document and hope to be in the market sometime around August 20, with the closing occurring in September. But present value savings currently are at about $7 million on the $124 million that would be refunded.
And that's spread out. So that savings, you don't all of a sudden feel it. To pay the rest off takes till 2040. So you have to go through all those payments. Every year it's a little less, by the end about $7 million. The rating that Dan was mentioning speaks to what Director Tripp was talking about why we got premium when we sold the bonds, and she was showing you in the box. It's like when you try to look up a hotel and there's one for 5 stars and one for 1.5 stars. Well, people are going to gravitate to, okay, this is somewhere that is more appealing, right? Popular, a movie that has 9 out of 10 versus 2 out of 10. More people are going to go to the 9 out of 10. This rating process that Dan, we had about an hour call with Moody's rating, and they give us a rating as a financial institution. The better our score, more people are willing to pay, and they are even willing to pay more than what we're initially charging. And that's that 3 million plus that Director Tripp mentioned. So that's really where we are. Most of the documents are attached to this board item. There's another one called the preliminary official statement that is so large. If you'd like to see it, Brittany has a copy of that. And all of these documents still we work with attorneys and all of that to finalize. They're not all finalized yet. They probably won't until, the time of sale, or some even after sale.
Right. We will post the offering document, the preliminary official statement, which is like the equivalent of a prospectus for stocks. Mm-hmm. And once that's posted, we will then proceed to the pre-marketing phase, price the bonds, like I said, hopefully August 20th or somewhere thereabouts. Again, we need to be relatively nimble in this market. It has been a challenging market as of the last several months, to be honest. So timing is critical. And once we price the bonds, then that actually is finalized, rates are finalized, and then we fill in all of the blanks in the preliminary document, and then that becomes the final official statement, and that's available for you as well after we price.
Do you have any questions for us?
Anyone? No, we appreciate your expertise. We appreciate you being here tonight, and we appreciate all of, again, supporting this district. This is a complicated issue, and it's a really important responsibility. So your wisdom and guidance is much appreciated, and thank you, Ms. Allen. We appreciate you working together at least to help guide us.
Thank you. Yeah, and Dan is excellent. I mean, I first met Dan when I became the CFO. He had worked for Tom for years and years, and he'll answer my call at 7 o'clock on a Saturday or whatever, because there are some levy emergencies that come up, right? Where you're like, oh, we have to look at this or what have you.
She works hard. She works hard.
So does Dan.
Ms. Allen, I think we're going to have to put in a definition for emergency and crisis management at 7 a.m. on a Saturday.
Maybe the levy is not an emergency. Yes, but we're a great partner. So thank you.
Thank you.
No, thank you so much. This was great. We really appreciate it.
Thanks.
All right, off to the next thing here. Oh, roll call. I guess we have to vote on it. All right, we're going to do a roll call.
Vice President Payne,
Aye.
Director Tripp,
Aye.
Director Wilburn,
Aye.
Director Waldrop,
Aye.
Director Shandy.
Aye.
Mr. Belcher, how many people have signed up to speak during public comment section 2?
We have 3 speakers.
Thank you. The board president will recognize each speaker, and consistent with GP 4.4, comments will be curtailed if remarks or behavior becomes inappropriate. The board president may interrupt, warn, or terminate a speaker's statement that is unrelated to the business of the school district, inappropriate for K-12 students, or disruptive to an orderly, civil, and productive meeting. Thank you for your cooperation.
Our first speaker is Cynthia Halverson, followed by Tiana Clark.
I hate what the world is doing to our children, and I believe that God hates it too. What is the world doing to our children? Dumbing them down, confusing them with lies and distractions, tools of the enemy, abducting them and abusing them, selling them, stealing their God-given identities and giving them false identities, stripping them of their innocence, immersing them in a life riddled with fear, paraded as love, snuffing out the life that the Lord created in them. There is coming a time, and quite soon, I'm afraid, where those who are following these agendas will have to make a choice, repent or burn in hell. My heart grieves me, and when I sit down in board meetings and I listen to the faculty, staff, and administration rejoice and cheer over stats that are far below where our children should be, dumbing them down rather than raising them up, hearing the usage of numerous acronyms that are feeding the ears and the minds of these precious ones that they are not who God created them to be, as lies are being fed to them regarding their gender, their names, and their self-worth. turning what is evil into good. For what purpose? May I ask, to what benefit does this provide the staff, the faculty, and the administration? My heart is heavy with grief, and God's heart is grieved as well. Many sitting in seats that are applauding themselves were not raised under these lack of standards. I grieve for you as well. But it's not too late for our children, but it will be soon. So I am here to plead with those who have an ear. Repent from your wicked ways. Take these pornographic books out of the eyes and reach of our precious children. Stop attempting to strip their parents of their God-given authority over their children and introduce the true history of our nation, the pride of a patriot whose forefathers gave their lives, their fortunes, and their families so that we could enjoy the liberty, the justice, and the freedoms that other nations only dream of. Teach the Constitution of the United States of America.
Our next speaker is Tiana Clark, followed by Brett Dayberry. Again, our next speaker is Tiana Clark, followed by Brett Dayberry.
So I had some names I was going to read out loud, but based on the policy, apparently those names are only acceptable in the hallways and not in the board meeting. So the names I was going to say are the ones that actually hurt our kids' mental health and sense of belonging. When said, the offender may receive a verbal warning, but rarely an enforceable punishment. In fact, if a student reacts to being subjected to hate speech, they often receive a harsher penalty. The impact of being called hateful words serves the same punishment as a physical altercation would receive. Since the board likes to set policies surrounding names, where's your policy for when names impact demographics outside yourselves? Where's your outrage of parental rights for those who don't want their kids being called racist, phobic terms? Where's the policy for victims, including students and staff, of hate speech? The impact Rampart class of 2028 had a completed suicide as 6th graders and a completed suicide as 7th graders. Staff were tasked with an initiative to keep them alive as 8th graders to get every student to high school. At least one student in this class had an attempted suicide just last week. The trauma traced back to the impact of being called a faggot daily in middle school at Chinook. We almost lost a 3rd student from this class, my son. There is no focus on students, academics, or supporting staff. In the last 3 years of teaching, I have no idea who the board rep has been in any year. You make decisions that add to the workload without direction of implementation. You put staff in an impossible position of breaking state law or having jobs threatened. You create more work and stress while adding duties that weren't in our job description. You put effort into making sure Jonathan isn't called Johnny without permission while ignoring the kids being called slurs. You instead banned books that explain why the slurs are wrong. My challenge to you is to maybe visit an actual classroom this year at your assigned schools and perhaps contemplate how our dystopian unit in the 8th grade may need to be updated to current events instead. Here's to kicking off a new school year. May the odds be in your favor.
Our final speaker for the night is Brett Dayberry, who intends to read from a book housed within a District 20 school library. The book is titled Kingdom of Ash and is located in the library at Rampart High School. It's rated young adult, and the speaker did follow the process outlined in GP 4.4 and the public comment sign-up form. Before this comment begins, we want to allow students or those who do not wish to hear potentially adult or sensitive content the opportunity to leave the room or turn off the stream. I'll give a signal when we've waited approximately 30 seconds for those wishing to leave. As a note, while we wait, Brett Dayberry is our final speaker for the night. You may begin.
Psalm 97:10 reads in part, "Let those who love the Lord hate evil." Mark 10:14 reads, "Let the children come to me, and do not hinder them, for the kingdom of God belongs to such as these." After opening the online file of the draft of the IJLR2 changes, I now know what Geraldo Rivera felt like when he opened the vault. There's nothing there. And it's obvious to me there's no evidence from this board of any real changes. Specifically, I have an issue with the Director of Curriculum and Instruction, who I understand is Megan Sanders, being committee facilitator. As a principal of Rampart, hold on. her and I met 3 years ago to review Almost Perfect, and she thought that book was fine. And now you're going to put her on the committee? It took 3 years and 1 lawsuit to get Almost Perfect out of the library. For those not convinced the changes are necessary, let me read from yet another book currently in the D20 library system. As I read, ask yourselves, how much are we hindering our children? She couldn't touch him fast enough, feel him against her, even when he roamed further, worshiping her breast as she arched up until each lick and suckle. Even when he knelt between her legs, his shoulders spreading her thighs wide and tasting her over and over until she was writhing beneath him. Rowan thrust into her in a mighty stroke as he plunged his teeth into the side of her neck, and she moaned with each drive of his hips. Get the point?
That's our final speaker for the night.
All right, Dr. Susan Field, do you have any clarifications or next steps?
I do not.
Board of Education, do you have any clarifications or next steps? Nope. Board directors, we will need to schedule a special meeting to accept Director Shandy's resignation. I'm reluctant to do that. Will Monday, August 10th at 6 p.m. work for everyone to gather and have a special meeting? Oh, look at your calendar, Director Wilburn. In person. So again, we're looking at a meeting Monday, 10 o'clock, or excuse me, Monday, August 10th at 6 p.m. in person right here. All right. Was our business this evening focused on activities that promote on, oh wait, Ms. Hatfield, did you monitor, we're going to have a meeting? Can you post that? Thank you. Was our business this evening focused on activities that promote and honor our mission statement, our belief statement, and our global end statements that remind us that all students will have the knowledge, skills, and character necessary for successful transition to the next level, and upon graduation will be fully prepared for success? Did the board hear information tonight that would require the review or revision of a policy? 4 points. I'm hearing Director Tripp, yes. 4 point, do we need to name the policies right now?
As discussed.
As discussed tonight. Ms. Hatfield, do you have that captured?
And also including at some point putting a pin in the bookwork, the upstream bookwork.
You want
Do
you want to rephrase, or do you want Mrs. Hatfield, do you have kind of the summary of that, or you want to repeat it back?
The information that was discussed about IJLR2. Yes.
So you're calling up other IJL policies, the acquisition and implementation of those books, basically what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah. So we're just not done with IGLR2, or IJL period.
Mrs. Hatfield, are we clear? Okay. All right, did the board hear information tonight that would require a new policy? Nope. Did the board hear information tonight that the board would like to include on a future agenda? All right, getting close, but we do have an announcement. It's Director Wilburn's birthday this Sunday. Happy birthday, Director Wilburn.
I am that man.
39 and holding. Oh, 42, I forgot. Happy birthday. Thanks for all you do. We really appreciate it. We have 24 people watching the live stream, and this meeting is adjourned.